You think that if you're good enough, kind enough, the world will answer with respect. Wrong. Kindness is not a shield. It is a billboard, a glowing sign that tells others, this is the easiest prey. Every time you swallow it, when you're pushed aside, every time you smile, when you're belittled, you're not keeping the peace. You're teaching them that you will never strike back. And once they learn that lesson, you will never take back the initiative. Every time you justify yourself, you sign the death warrant for your own respect. Silence does not make them understand. It only makes them test you more deeper until you realize that respect is never given. It is only kept by your willingness to take it back, even if it costs you. Picture yourself sitting in a meeting. Your idea has just been presented when someone cuts in, speaks louder, and the whole room turns to listen to them. You sit there nodding, smiling, pretending you're unfazed. But deep down you feel like you've just been pushed off the board. Or at a party, you tell a story. Someone jumps in, cracks a joke, the whole group laughs. No one remembers your story anymore, and you sip your drink, stay quiet, and let it pass. In a relationship, you state your point of view. The other person ignores it and keeps doing what they want. You tell yourself again, it's fine, I don't want to cause tension. You think that silence is wisdom, but in reality, you've just taught them that your opinion doesn't need to be respected. Those aren't small moments. They are the bricks quietly building a wall you won't be able to break later. No one takes your power in a single stroke. They take it piece by piece every time you stay silent. And then you start to get used to it. Used to being interrupted. Used to being disregarded. Used to no one asking for your input. Until one day you look back and realize you have no place left in your own story. Think back to the last time someone spoke over you as if you didn't exist. How did you react? Did you push back, or did you choose silence to keep the peace? That is a decisive moment. Not when they attack you, but when you choose to do nothing. Because when you do nothing, they understand one thing. They can do it again. And each time they go a little further, like testing the limit of a rope. If the rope doesn't snap, they'll pull harder. And then one day it will snake. Except it's you, not them. The question is, who are you allowed to pull first? They say that respect must be earned, that you have to prove your value for others to acknowledge it. But the truth is, when you have to go earn respect, you already lost it long ago. Respect does not come from being recognized. It comes from setting your own standard and defending it at all costs. Others only follow the rules of the game that you draw. If you have no rules, they will use theirs to rule you. You think you're disrespected because others are too strong. No. You're disrespected because you allow it to happen. Every time you ignore an insult, every time you accept an act that diminishes you, you are lowering your own standard. And when your standard is low, don't expect anyone to treat you above it. The strong do not ask for respect. They act as if they already have it at all times, everywhere. If a king has to travel his land begging his subjects for respect, his throne is already unstable. If a man has to constantly explain why he deserves respect, he has already placed himself beneath the listener. Respect is not bestowed. It is imposed. Men are deceived into believing that patience, kindness, and waiting will bring respect. But Machiavelli understood well. Waiting to be respected is like waiting for the enemy to drop his sword. It will never happen. You cannot stand at the city gate and hope the invader will turn away because they see you as kind. You force them to turn away because they know that if they take one more step, they will lose more than they can bear. You can spend your whole life pleasing others and in return receive only contempt, or you can live by your own standard and let the rest adjust accordingly. You are not underpriced because the world is unfair. You are underpriced because you allow your price tag to sit in someone else's hands. And once you understand that, you will stop seeking approval. You will start building walls, raising fences, and setting non-negotiable terms. Those who want to stay will have to accept. Those who don't will have to leave. That is when you no longer play by their rules, but force them to play by yours. Respect is not cultivated by words. It is preserved by principles. And the first principle is never negotiate with disrespect. When someone crosses your boundary, do not explain. Do not negotiate. Do not try to make them understand. Act as if that boundary were a line between life and death. The Machiavellian man does not lower his voice to be heard. He stays silent until others are forced to be silent to listen. In politics, in business, and in personal life alike, the rule of the game is the same. The one in power is the one who controls his reactions. When you lose control, you lose your position on the board. If an ally betrays you, retaliation is not an emotional speech. It is cutting them out of your sphere of influence fast, clean, without warning. This cold action makes the rest understand that you do not need to get angry to be dangerous. If an employee or a partner disrespects you, do not warn them many times. Take away their opportunity. Opportunity is the only thing they care about more than their self-respect. Power is not in proving you are right. Power is in making them doubt themselves. Machiavelli once wrote, "The wise know that fear is the only way to keep loyalty." The fear here is not violence, but the awareness that losing your favor is a price too high. When you set a standard, make sure that breaking it brings consequences that are clear and irreversible. Once they see that you do not hesitate to enforce consequences, they will not need you to repeat yourself a second time. Respect is not something you chase. It is something you force others to keep, because losing it will cost them more. In 1512, when Niccolo Machiavelli was overthrown and imprisoned, he grasped a ruthless truth. Power is not something you keep through loyalty, but something you maintain to the fear of losing position. When he returned to Florence, Machiavelli did not try to regain favor with promises or emotion. He wrote, "The prince set it straight to those in power, not to beg, but to show that his intellect and influence were still things they could not ignore. No apology, no request for forgiveness, only a reminder, I am still here, and I am still dangerous." This strategy persists to this day. Look at a CEO I once worked with. In a strategy meeting, a department director openly challenged him before the entire leadership team with a tone of contempt. He did not react. No arguing. Not even a raised eyebrow. Just folded his papers, left the room, and the meeting was canceled right after. The next day, that director was removed from a flagship project, and within a month his contract was terminated. No one heard a single threat. No one was given an explanation, but everyone understood. Crossing his line is turning yourself into an outsider. This is why Machiavelli's cold strategy works. It creates precedent. When a line is broken once with no consequence, your standard is dead. But when a line is broken once and consequences are enforced immediately, the rest will control their own behavior. The Machiavellian man does not need to repeat himself. He needs only one example, one strike, one decisive act for the whole room to see, and then silence will do the rest. Respect does not come from moral lectures. It comes from actions that remind others that touching you is playing with fire. Remember, the strongest never need to prove they are strong. They only need to show the consequences once and let others' imagination do the rest. Your attacker always expects one thing, a reaction. They need you to get angry. They need you to argue back. They need you to lose control, so they have something to use as a weapon against you. When they throw an insult, they don't just want to hurt you. They want you to respond to turn that moment into a battlefield where you're always on the defensive. But when you don't give them that, their game begins to collapse. I once watched a mid-level manager deliberately attack his boss in front of the entire staff. He did not retaliate. He did not nod. He did not frown. He just glanced over as if the other had said something meaningless, then continued the meeting. In the days that followed, the attacker started bringing it up again, trying to explain himself, trying to justify why he spoke that way. Every time he opened his mouth, he dug his own hole deeper. That is the moment Machiavelli calls self-exposure weakness. When you refuse to step into their arena, they are forced to swing at air, and the audience will see for themselves who is losing control. In politics, this collapse is even clearer. A leader is attacked publicly by an opponent in the media, but instead of striking back, he makes a silent yet brutal administrative move. Cut the opponent's budget. No explanation, no statement to press. Within a few months, the opponent's career withers on its own, and he doesn't need to say a word. Your silence becomes a mirror reflecting their insecurity. They start talking more, posting more, and every word, every action exposes them. Others no longer see you as a victim, but but see them as obsessive, weak, and desperate. This is the point Machiavelli understood better than anyone. The strong do not need to destroy an opponent with their own hands. They only need to create a gap and let the opponent step into it. Respect is not only built by the consequences you create, it is also reinforced by the times you stand still and let others destroy themselves. When you do not react, you send a message. You don't need to prove anything to anyone. And when others realize that, they will understand that you are playing a longer, deeper game where every move they make has been accounted for in advance. There's a moment every man must face if he wants to step out of the passive role. The moment he realizes, I am no longer the one who begs for respect. I am the one who sets the rules for how others treat me. That is when you stop waiting for the world to change. You change yourself. You no longer react to please others. You react to protect your standard. The Machiavellian man does not ask, what will they think if I do this? He asks, does this keep my position intact? This change does not come from an inspiring quote. It comes from cutting off each habit of self-diminishment. Stop apologizing when it isn't necessary. Stop explaining to be accepted. Stop staying in conversations, relationships, jobs where your standard is trampled. You start walking into rooms as if you own them, not out of arrogance, but because you have decided you will never be in a room where you have to ask for the right to exist. Machiavelli once wrote, "The respected man is the one who never allows himself to be treated with contempt." That means you must become the man who cannot be tested without consequences. From this moment, you no longer play the role of someone who plays by others' rules. You become the one who sets the rules. The rule can be simple. Whoever crosses the line leaves the game. No warning, no exceptions. And when you live by your own law, something strange happens. You begin to radiate an aura without saying a word. Others will adjust their words, their actions, even their attitude when they're near you, because they sense the price to pay if they misstep. You are no longer the one being chosen. You are the one who chooses. And then respect is no longer something you seek. It becomes as natural as the air around you, ever present, ever enveloping, and no one dares to touch it. Respect is not protected by hope. It is protected by tools. These principles are not just ideas. They are weapons. Applied correctly, they will change how people treat you forever. Principle 1, do not explain, only act. When someone crosses your line, the instinct of most men is to explain why they are wrong. Mistake. Explaining to them is admitting that you need their approval. The Machiavellian skips that step. He enforces consequences immediately. Principle 2, leave when the standard is broken. No second warning. If a situation, a relationship, or an environment lowers your value, you do not try to fix it. You leave. Every minute you stay is a minute you teach them that you accept being disrespected. Principle 3, keep promises to yourself. If you promise to wake up early, wake up. If you promise to train, train. If you break promises to yourself, you have lost the right to demand that others keep theirs with you. Principle 4, control the emotional response. The one who loses his temper always loses. Losing your temper is handing the controls to the opponent. The Machiavellian holds emotion like a sharp knife, only drawn when needed and always knowing where it will land. Principle 5, choose an environment that matches your standard. If you are in an environment where your standard is mocked, labeled too high, you will soon be pulled down. Be where your standard is mirrored or be alone. Principle 6, strategic silence under attack. Not every insult deserves an answer. Sometimes silence is the fastest way to throw the opponent off balance. They don't know what you're thinking, don't know what you will do, and that fear eats them from the inside. Principle 7, use consequences instead of warnings. A warning has value only if the listener believes you will actually do it. When you enforce consequences the first time, you no longer need to warn. Your name becomes the warning. Principle 8, separate your self-worth from others' approval. You don't need anyone's confirmation to know you have value. If your value depends on others' acceptance, they will use it to control you. Principle 9, do less, but let every action carry weight. Do not waste energy on petty reactions. Stay silent most of the time, and when you move, make sure the strike is strong enough to change the field. Principle 10. Always leave an exit for yourself. The Machiavellian does not trap himself in a corner. There's always a retreat plan. Self-respect is also knowing when to disappear to preserve strength. These principles are not an option. They are a system. Each principle reinforces the others. And when you apply them long enough, they become reflex. You will notice a subtle but powerful shift. People start weighing their words before speaking to you. They will correct their behavior on their own when you are near, not because you threaten them, but because they have seen or heard what happens when someone dares to test you. This is the power of a Machiavellian system. It allows you not to be in every battle and still win every battle. Imagine you walk into a room. No sudden noise, no introduction. Yet the people inside immediately adjust how they sit, lower their voices, and drop the story they were telling. You are not the loudest one, not the one wearing most expensive clothes. But everyone knows you are the only one here no one wants to challenge. That is not an accident. It is a legacy you built from hundreds of cold decisions, from dozens of times you left places that diminished you, from hundreds of moments you chose silence over argument. Machiavelli understood a true leader does not need to prove his power every day. He only needs to ensure that whenever that power is tested, his response is enough to etch itself into the memory of everyone who witnesses it. The Machiavellian man does not build image with words. He builds with precedent. Precedent that anyone who crosses a line disappears from the board quickly and quietly. And when that precedent is reinforced long enough, it becomes something invisible yet tangible. Aura, an aura that makes others weigh every step when they are near you. An aura that lets you avoid threats and harsh words and still receive absolute respect. This legacy is not in what you say today. It is in what others whisper about you when you are not present, that you are not easily swayed, that you never chase approval, that you are the one who sets the law and your law is never broken. That is when respect is no longer a battle you have to fight. It becomes a foundation you stand on in every room, every negotiation, every relationship. There is a truth most men never have the courage to admit. You do not lose respect in a single outburst. You lose it in the wrong silences, in the self-justifications, in the times you stay when you should have left. Each such time is a small cut into your image, and by the time you realize it, the statue has been eroded until no one sees the original value anymore. The Machiavellian man does not let that happen. He does not argue to win back respect. He keeps it by giving no one a chance to take it in the first place. When the standard is broken, he leaves. No explanation, no warning, no room left for negotiation. His disappearance is the clearest message. I don't need you, but you will feel my absence. That is the power of the cold withdrawal. You do not win by defeating every person. You win by making everyone understand that you do not need to fight, because a battle ends the moment you stand up and walk away. And when they realize that you are willing to disappear at any time, they will do everything to keep you. Respect is not something you chase. It is something you leave behind like a mark that cannot be erased. Those who have lost it will remember that feeling forever. Therefore, from today, drop the idea that you must argue to be respected. Disappear from any place unworthy of your presence. Let your silence be the only answer. And remember this, when you no longer need them, that is when they begin to need you.